Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear this on YouTube as well. Yeah, if you don't mind, that would be good. So yes, last week we couldn't make it to do the English meeting here, so we traded days as it usually is on happens on the second Monday of each month. But this month, out of the ordinary, we are here on the third week of September. But next month we will be back to the second Monday of the month. In October will be on October 11th, and we will have Flavio Zanetti here with us. So we're looking forward to having him once again. Tonight I'm going to be here talking a little bit about chapter number 10 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, which is Blessed are the Merciful, and we will talk about reconciliation with one's adversaries. But before that, we will have Mariana. She will be talking to us about chapter 133 from the book Our Daily Bread. And before that, we're going to do our initial prayer so that we can have be even more in contact with the good spirits, with Jesus, and with God, our Creator, and the one that loves us above everything else. So if you wish to, and if you want, you can close your eyes so that we can think about the good spirits that surround us at all times, that they inspire us all the time, helping us raise our thoughts, improve our feelings, so that we can perceive more and more the love that surrounds us, the love that comes from God and touches us in the form of the air that we breathe, of the life that we have, of the body that we live in, of our friends, of our families, of the opportunity of being here on earth once more. All of this, we are grateful to you, God, to have in our lives so that we can, while learning the gospel, the good news, the ethics of improving one's lives, that we can, together with you, with our friends, improve this world, turning it into a better place for all of us. May your love that is with us at all times be able to touch us, be able to move us forward, and help us do our part in this world. May your blessings be with us tonight and always. So be it. So with this, let's invite Mariana. She will be here talking to us a little bit, and then after that, I'll be here with you guys.
Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to be reading Our Daily Bread from Chico Xavier by the Spirit of Emmanuel. Lecture number 133. The Great Future. But now my kingdom is from another place. That was said by Jesus, and it's recorded in John 18:36. From the beginnings of Christianity, we have observed students deliberately retiring from activities of this world, alleging that the kingdom of the Lord does not belong to earth. They kneel for an undetermined time in the establishments of adoration, and actually believe to find in this flight the realization of sanctuary. Many cross their arms when facing regenerative services, and when questioned, express resentment for the disagreeable picture that the terrestrial experience offers them, reporting to Christ in front of Pilates when the Master assures that his kingdom was not as yet installed in the circles of human struggle. However, it is justifiable to consider that the Christ did not disinherit the planet. His word did not support an absolute denial of celestial happiness for the earth, but rather solidly defined the existing landscape at the time, not forgetting about the hope in the future. The Master clarified, "But for now, my kingdom is not of this world." In the future. This affirmative response reveals his confidence. Jesus, therefore, cannot endorse the false notion of the discouraged workers, simply because the shadow became denser due to transitory problems, or because human wounds became more painful. Such occurrences are sometimes the result of pure visual illusion. Divine activity never ceases, and particularly in the area of beneficial struggle, where the student will carve his own victory. It is not logical, therefore, to desert merely for an attitude of contemplation, but rather to advance confidently toward a greater future. Wow. So, when I first read this, my first thought was he is talking about suicidals. That was my first thought because it says here, we have observed students deliberately retiring from the activities of this world. I thought he's talking about suicidal. But no, that's us. That's how we do this. We think that because Jesus said, but now my kingdom is from another place. We don't have to do anything here in this world. We can just sit around and pray and hope that things are going to get better and get the way we think it should be. And here it's telling us just kneel for prayers is not going to get you anywhere. If you had a flat tire and you just pray, would that make your tire get good again? Be a new tire again? Exactly. So you would have to buy a new tire, change your tire, and that the action of doing that will result in something. The work will result in something. Of course, we have to pray. Jesus taught us to pray. But not only pray, we need to take actions into our prayers. It's not just about praying and waiting and sitting and waiting. We actually have a saying in Portuguese that don't just pray and wait. If you do that, nothing will get done. So that's mainly what he's trying to tell us here. If we cross our arms when facing difficult times, many cross their arms when facing regenerative services, and when questioned, express resentment for disagreeable pictures that the terrestrial experiences offers them, We do that every day by crossing our arms and complaining that why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. But yet we're not doing anything different to deserve anything different. We are just waiting for the miracle to happen. We're just waiting for someone or something to fall from the skies and give us what we're hoping we think we deserve. We're just waiting for the best, but we're not doing anything to reach the best. Jesus says, but my kingdom is not from another, it's not from here yet. This was said long ago, and we're still working to make this place Jesus' kingdom. And how are we going to make this Jesus' kingdom if we don't work towards this? If we sit around, cross our arms, kneel, and just pray, and don't actually take actions, don't actually do things to deserve a better place, you deserve to make this a place that Jesus can say, this is now my kingdom. What are we going to do differently to do that? To make that, what is going to be our effort to make that happen? Emmanuel even says here, divine activity never ceases, and particularly in the area of beneficial struggle where the students will carve his own victory. We have to fight our battles. We have to own our victories. Nancy doing my work will not grant me any victory. Anyone doing what I'm supposed to be doing will not give me any victory. It's not like you're going to work and give me your paycheck. If I don't work for my paycheck, I'm not going to get anything. So this is the same way. We have to do our part in this world, Earth, so that this can once and for all be Jesus' kingdom. It's hard. It's very hard. We've been doing this for millenniums now, and we're still not there. And who knows when we're going to get there. But if we cross our arms, it's never going to happen. If we just believe that something, let's pray and wait, nothing's going to happen. If we don't take actions into our world, nothing is going to change. And right now, we're living the proof of that. We did not take actions, and look where we are now. Look what we're facing. And this is all for a better growth as well. So maybe now, if we take actions now and help each other and help out the world, maybe it will be an easier process. It's never going to be easy, because easy is not worth it. Easy is not what we like. We like to make things tough, makes things harder. That makes us value more. It's always like that. Either you come for the pain or the love. We always come for the pain, right? We always have to suffer first. And I guess that's it. I hope I could give you some of what I think Emmanuel tried to tell us here. But it's a very good lesson. I guess everyone should take their time, and if you don't understand it in English, write. It's clearly in Portuguese everywhere. And it's definitely a thing that we should stop and think about. What can we do better to not cross our arms and not kneel and pray without taking actions? Orar, ação. It's not just orar. It's called The Great Future. So if we want to move toward the great future, let's start working, moving. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mariana. It's a really. It's hard not to say that all these messages are really interesting, but this one is. It's a call to action, right? Sometimes the messages are more something on the inside or something. They have like different things, but this one is like, don't stop. I mean, let's keep moving. And like you said, I mean, action, right? Oração, action. You know? So it's really, really interesting. Message 133, the great future. So as we keep going with the gospel according to Spiritism and studying some of, not some, all of the topics that Kardec puts here for us, tonight we're moving on to we're still on chapter 10. We started it last month, which is Blessed are the Merciful, and we went from items 1 to 4. And as I usually say, there is not enough time on a public talk to talk about all the details and everything that's on these. And of course, it's not the objective to explain everything or go into every detail, but it's more to give an overview of some of these topics, and so that we probably get interested in reading it again, as Mariana said, read the message again, read the chapter, read the item again, if you didn't understand a little bit of this or of that. And of course, if you don't understand it in English or in whatever language, go to your language. In our case, usually Portuguese, so that we can get a little more of the feeling of what the message really is. So tonight we're moving on to items 5 and 6 of chapter 10, and the title of the item is of these items is reconciliation with one's adversaries, or reconciliation with your adversaries, depending on the translation. But we understand that it's with our adversaries, right? And the passage that Kardec takes from the gospel, from the Gospels, is in the Sermon on the Mount, which is in Matthew, is on chapters 5, 6, and 7, and so that's the big sermon that supposedly Jesus gave to the people at the mountain, or at the mount. That's why it's called the Sermon on the Mount. And it's basically where the majority of Jesus's teachings is compressed into these 3 chapters. And there's so much information in these chapters, and so many teachings, that it is hard to describe. It's where we find the Beatitudes, blessed are those, blessed are those, blessed are those, where we find, this reconciliation. Last week we talked about forgiveness, and this week as well, which is, of course, blessed are the merciful. And there are so many more teachings. So these items, or these verses that Matthew took note, are on chapter 5 and verses 25 and 26. So it's more or less, which is very interesting, the same way that Emmanuel does in his books, as Mariana read here. She read a small passage from a book from one of the Gospels, And then Emmanuel makes a comment on this. So Kardec does exactly the same here in the Gospel according to Spiritism. He grabs up a piece of, most of the times from one of the Gospels, or some of the letters from Paul, or sometimes from the Old Testament as well, but most of the times according from the Gospels, and then he makes a comment on it, and he expands the what it is that Jesus or that passage wanted to bring to us. So I'm going to do similar to what Mariana did, which is what we usually do in our reading in the beginning of every meeting, which is I'm going to read the items that they were taken from the Bible, and then we're going to go step by step, or move together with Kardec here in the text. I'm not going to read the whole thing, although it's probably not as almost at the same size of the message for today. So it could be very similar. I could read the whole thing and then we could talk about it. But let's see how it goes, because although I'm going to talk a little bit about what Kardec says here, I'm going to, I wouldn't say go beyond, because it's not about going beyond, but I'm going to bring a different twist to it. Like, when we're watching a movie and we call it like the plot twist, we come and we're expecting something, and all of a sudden everything changes. So that's what I'm going to try to bring, so that we can think of this reconciliation with our adversaries in a different way. So I'm going to read what Jesus says. Be reconciled as quickly as possible with your adversary, while you are with him on the way, so that he does not hand you over to the judge, and so that the judge does not hand you over to the minister of justice, so that you may not be imprisoned. Verily, I say to you that you will not leave there as long as you have not paid the last farthing, the last cent. So what Jesus is asking us, or telling the multitudes in which we are included, to, as we are walking, I told that this part, Jesus is talking to people in the mount. He is telling these things to people. And at this moment here, he had just spoke about, if you have something against your brother. That's the verses right before this. He talks about, if you have something against your brother, which is, of course, your brother or your sister or someone that you like. He's not talking about someone that you don't like. He's talking about someone that is part of your life, and it's a loved one, right? So he says, if you have something against him, or if you were in a quarrel, if you're fighting or whatever, before you go to the church, or before you go to the synagogue, before you go and put your money and give your money to the church, go find your brother, talk to him, solve your problems, then come back and give something to the church. As if to say, it's worth nothing if you come and give the money and then you're still fighting with someone. What's the point? Because, well, that you want to give the money to prove something? You have to do it within, not without. To the inside, not to the outside. So that's why he asks us to go and in private solve the problem. So it's not the matter for anybody else. I'm not going to be showing off that I solved the problem and here I am the greatest. I just came and I apologized. No, it's in private. So it's within, it's inside. Then he moves on right after this and he talks now about the adversary. So he comes from the brother into the adversary. So he says, while you are walking with them, while you're still here, while you're still alive, while you still can go and reconcile so that he doesn't come and bring you to justice. Then you will be imprisoned. So go there and make it, turn this fight or whatever it is that's happening, because he doesn't say what's happening. He just says that something is happening with your adversary. He doesn't say who the adversary is. He doesn't say what you did or what he did. He doesn't say anything. So it's as generic as it can be. So we can take.
And interesting, it doesn't say who is right and
Who
who
is,
is wrong.
yeah, doesn't say it. He makes it for us to be in a problem. He tells you're in a problem, you're having an issue with an adversary. Like Nancy said, I don't know if everybody heard, right? So he doesn't say who is wrong. That's what she said. He doesn't say who is wrong. You're having a fight, you're having a quarrel, you're having a problem, there's an issue. So he says, before this whole thing turns into a mess so big as if to have a judge inside or into it, then you'll be judged, then you'll be brought to a minister of justice, then you will be imprisoned. And of course, this is very generic. Of course, not necessarily I'll be imprisoned physically. And so that's why when we see or we think about these images that Jesus or the great teachers are trying to convey to us, is to bring to our minds images that we can relate to so that we can understand better. But then we have to extrapolate and go beyond the simple image of being imprisoned physically, to think about what is to be imprisoned. Who will be the judge? Who will be the minister of justice? Who is my adversary? What is my problem with it? All these questions I have to answer. It's not for Jesus to answer. It's not for you to answer on my life, but it's for me to answer on my life and you to answer in your lives. Because the message that we read is not for the others, it's for us, it's for me. So as if I'm sitting there and talking to Jesus, or Jesus talking to me, and he's telling me. He's not telling me to think about the best part of me that's at home. Say, oh, only if she did this, only if he did this. No, if he did or he didn't, it's their issue, not mine. But if I did it, then it's my problem. So the message is for me. So I may have an adversary. Who is this adversary? I'm going to have to find out. Who is the judge? I'm going to have to find out. Who is the minister of justice? I'm going to have to find out. What does it mean to be in prison? But and then we stop with all these questions. Because, that's what he says, right? Verily, in truth, I tell you that you will not leave that prison, will not leave there, as long as you have not paid the last farthing. Then this word is totally out of the vocabulary. We don't use it. We never hear it. I'm talking about myself, but I'm assuming that you guys would not know what it is as well. And didn't check with my boss, which is American. But tomorrow I'm going to ask him. I'm going to say the word, and I'm going to see what he says. And not only him, I'm going to ask a few other people, because I really don't remember never hearing anyone saying this word on a regular conversation. Maybe they know if they read or whatever. But farthing is, or was, we have a cent, right? The coin, 1 cent. A farthing in England, which this word was taken from the King James Bible, which is a translation that King James ordered in the 1600s of the Bible and became the standard. Farthing at that time was 1/4 of a cent. It's 1/4 of a cent. So it's 1 cent divided by 4. That's what Jesus is saying, at least in this translation. These days we see other translations, and since we have no coin that's less than 1/4, or sorry, less than a cent, they translate it as cent. But if they are being precise, they usually put a note to say what it is, because it's less actually than a cent. But since we have no coin or no currency that's less than a cent, only if we could say, for example, it's a Brazilian cent, which is 1/5 of a cent here, right? Which is worth less. So 1 cent, we'd have to have 5 cents in Brazil to make 1 cent here, right? So it's that kind of a difference. So just by thinking of this, right, until you have paid the last cent. So Jesus is saying, look, if you don't, why don't you solve it before everything starts? Because if you don't solve it, and if you don't find a way to really solve the problem, it will cost you so much more. So it is like I said. I mean, when we read this, we understand. Welcome. Hello. When we read this passage, and of course we're talking about this comparison that Jesus is making with being imprisoned, or being, in front of a judge, having a problem with someone, that you're on the way and then you're going to be in prison. But it's not only about that. He really wants us to get that image and say, how can I transport that image into my personal life? Because not necessarily I'll ever in my whole life be in front of a judge for a problem with someone. So that means that doesn't apply to me? No. And then let's start to think a little bit about what does he to what situations in my life can I apply this? So I'm gonna start going into these people: the adversary, me, the adversary, then the judge, then the minister of justice, then the prison. So me is clear, right? Who is me? Me is me, right? There's not much that I can say other than who is actually me. right? Because we say, I am Mackenzie, right? But if I'm a materialistic person and I don't believe there's nothing else than this, then that's it, right? I'm Mackenzie and that's it. But as Mariana was saying here, my kingdom is not of this world, right? So if we are Christians, and more than just Christians, we go deeper and we sing Jesus' messages, and we understand that if he after he died, he didn't die. When we die, we don't die. So I continue going. I keep living, right? And although some people don't believe it, but in Spiritism we have come to agree that if we continue when we die, why would it stop there? So we come back. If we think about that, then if we come back, it might mean that I lived before and I came again. So that's what we call reincarnation. So it's a cycle of improvements through lives, through experiences here physically. So with this same simplistic explanation, who am I then? I was somebody else in the past. I might be someone completely different in the future, or I will be hopefully better in the future. So my adversary, the same thing, right? If I will live again, if I die and I don't die, my adversary, when he dies, he will not die as well. And so we are both alive. And that's why he puts a message, or he puts this saying. Of course, he uses the French saying when he writes in French, and then we have to adapt or see what this saying is similar to an English saying in English. And the saying in French would state specifically, or more precisely, word by word, say something: the poison dies with the beast. So when the animal dies, the poison goes away. In English, which although it's not very common, at least not in my circle of people, but the saying in English is "dead dogs don't bite." That would be the saying in English that says the same thing. I mean, if the beast is dead, then there's no more poison. I mean, a dead dog cannot bite you anymore. So Kardec looks at this and he says, well, if you are materialistic, maybe that's true. But if we are thinking about this from a different perspective, once I die, I don't die. Therefore, my adversary, if he or she dies before me, and I think that I'm getting rid of them, I am not getting rid of them. They are actually more free or freer on the other side than me here. So depending on who I am, on how I live, they might come back and pull my finger. That's why Christianity doesn't sleep well. Right, Chris? I don't know. I mean, that's what Kardec is saying, in which, to what we understand in Spiritism, makes total sense. Because we attract people and thoughts according to what I am, not to what I look like, not to what other people think of me. No, people look at me and think that I'm a caveman, which is getting close. Right? It's getting close. My wife said that she will not sleep tonight before I get home and before she cuts my hair. Might be. Uh, which I may be. I may be a caveman, but you only see what's on the outside. You don't see who I am. So you don't see who I attract, what kinds of spirits I attract. The same idea. If I had an adversary and I said, "Oh, thank God he died," you should do the other way around. "Oh God, why did you take him away?" Now I'm completely, what can I do now? Pray. And that's what the message was saying. Yeah. So that's the idea here. And that's why Jesus starts reconcile or be reconciled. Do your effort, do something as quickly as possible while you are with him or with her. Because there will be a moment when you're not going to be with them anymore. And now what? So imagine that, whatever example, I mean, a person went away. I mean, I fought with the person. This terrible thing happened to me, to us, and then I left and didn't see it anymore. Didn't see the person or for a very long time. And then, is this just the fact that we separated each other? Did it solve the problem? We separated from each other. Did it solve the problem? Very unlikely. We leave things unresolved. Then, at the end, we will have to pay the last cent.
And I think it is like worse, very worse when we leave things like that unresolved.
Yep, it is really bad because we carry a load inside of ourselves. It becomes heavy with time, and we say, why didn't I do something? Right? Why didn't I took the first step? It is hard, and we're not saying that these things are easy. No change is easy. There's almost zero things that we change that are really easy. It only becomes easy if I think it as necessary, and if I really change my mind on that thing. I mean, something that was hard for me in the past, whatever it is. I mean, raising a pen or eating something. Then I say, "Oh, if I start eating this, I will improve my health," for example. Then you start doing it. But in the beginning, it's hard because you don't like the taste or you don't like how to make it. But then you start doing it. You do it once, 3, 4, 5, 10 times. Then all of a sudden it becomes second nature. It becomes natural to you. You may not even like it yet, but at least now it's not as hard as it was in the beginning. But it took a lot of effort for anything. Now imagine it's something that we've been doing for 10 lives.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why is it so difficult to deal with family members, especially family members that we have like a blood related, not like a friend or someone, that is outside from the family. Most of the time, most of the things that I saw, hear, and have been around in my life, it is how it's hard to deal with some family members in some situations. Sometimes you just said something that I have in my own life, like with a sister staying away, thinking that, oh, okay, we are not talking anymore, so she's there, I'm here, everything's fine. But then I end up realizing that the distance does not resolve the conflict at all. It gets worse.
Yeah, so you're asking, and I'm just going to repeat so that I don't know if the microphone is capturing it, but thinking, about why it's so hard to deal with these problems with family, especially, right? And I have to say that anybody that we decide to live with, it will be hard because if we are close together, and I like the image of living with a porcupine, a porcupine that has like spears outside. It's like, can you imagine? You try to get close to it, right? You have your own, and then they have their own. It doesn't. Yeah, we will get hurt. We will get hurt. The closer we get, we will get hurt. It is natural. It is something that, and the question is why, right? Why? Because we all need to improve. Everybody needs to improve. Everyone. If we are far away, we might get one thorn here and there, and which is fine. Oh, it's just one. Oh, then we forgive, right? You say, oh, it's just one. I know that he's having a problem. She's like, she's going like wrong with something. Something is happening. She's, it's whatever it is. Then it happens the second time. Then it happens the third time. Then it happens, and it happens, and it happens. Then we get tired because we think that the other person should not do this anymore, right? But how many times have we actually thought that, for example, and I'm going to cite something very simple, that every time I go to the bathroom and I don't put that lid down or that lid up, the other person doesn't like it. But to me, it doesn't matter. The person will get mad at me. And I don't understand why. Because it's something that I do. And I don't care because it doesn't matter to me. The other person, when she or he does something, that she does it continually because that's who she is or who he is, she doesn't think that it's hurting us. She's just doing because that's what he or she is. And we cannot understand this. There's almost no one that can make us understand this until the moment when we realize, for whatever reason, that we're doing exactly the same thing, but in a different moment or with a different thing. And those things, we have to find a way of letting it go. Letting it go. Because it's not to us to change the other person. Really, it's not to us to change the other person. We have to realize that, and that's why, be reconciled. Reconcile yourself with your adversary. It's my part that needs to be done. If the other part doesn't want, what can I do? I can do the best that I can, but I have to do it with open heart, accepting that the other person doesn't really need to reconcile. I have to do my side. It is hard. It is terribly hard. It is very hard.
I think there's also always a lesson to be learned, and from both sides.
Yep.
So sometimes you're thinking, oh, it's her fault, it's his fault. But you don't see that you need to learn your lesson as much as she needs to learn her lesson.
Yeah.
So there's also a lot of pride in between that lesson to be learned.
There's always both sides, and like in a saying or something that is repeated from time to time. There's we always say, oh, there's two sides of the truth. There's so many more sides of the truth, but in a relationship, there's your side, there's my side, and there's the right side, which is maybe a mixture of both, maybe none at all of both. Both may be totally wrong and they can't see it. it's that image of the person that comes and say, and they're fighting, and one's saying something, the other one is saying something. Comes a person and said, grabs something in their hands and says, what is the color of this? And then the person this side says it's white, and the other one says it's black, and then they fight even more. And then he opens the hand, and then there's black and white. One side is black and the other white. But we only see our sides because we are seeing this way. But if we open and we look at the whole picture, we will see that there are more sides to it. There is black, is white, there can be grays, there can be other colors in between, and then that's it. So it is really hard to reconcile. It is really hard. I don't remember, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember Jesus ever saying in any of his teachings that whatever he's asking is going to be easy. What we can infer from what he's saying is that easier if you do it before. It will be harder if you leave it for later. Usually that's how we understand what he's saying. It is, but being easier than it will be later, it doesn't mean that it's easy. Even if you do it now. Why? Because it is hard for me to change.
It's so hard that he repeats himself over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's the same lessons over and over.
Yep.
Different way of saying it, but the same lesson.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, totally agree. It's we have, and Emmanuel was asked in one of the messages, which I find this to be very interesting. Emmanuel is the spirit that gave lots of messages through Chico Xavier, and Mariana read one of his messages in the beginning here tonight. He says, he was asked through Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, why do you write so many messages? They are the same message, only in different words.
What?
It's in one of the books. Someone asked, and it's in one of the books that register like conversations that they were having with Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. And there's a book that has this specific. I read it a long time ago, so I can't remember the book that's coming to my mind right now. It may be this one. It's called Chico de Francisco. That's the book that I have in my mind, but I don't remember if that specific question is there. But the question was, why do you have so many messages that are almost the same, but they have like different words or in different ways? And he says, because some people understand better in a certain way than other ways. So you might see the same message repeated over and over, and he says, but one person might get that message because it has something in that message that applies, that touches me more than others. So maybe a person likes more the comparisons with, let's say, butterflies, and then he talks about nature. On the other hand, he might say the same thing talking about science. And then a scientist or a person that's more on the, I'd say, engineering side gets touched by this, while other that is more on the biology side gets touched with something, with a metaphor or with a comparison with this. And it's like what Mariana was saying, the repetition not only is this idea of you hear it over and over again so that you get it, but also it's a repetition with slight changes so that my mind gets it in a different way or enters in a different state to be able to relate to it. So that's why we come and we talk about forgiveness, as we spoke last time, and then now we're talking about, to some degree, about forgiveness as well, without even saying the word forgiveness, for the first time saying it right now, because it's about forgiving the other for what he did, if it's the case with the adversary, right? And then I get free. I relieve myself of the pressure of being fighting against someone. So if I am able to relieve that pressure, then something else can come into me, and then I will have to be filled again until the moment when so I will have more room inside of me if I start releasing stuff from myself. And then if I release more stuff, then pressure can grow a little more, and then I won't explode. Then I'll have more time to do it again and keep doing it. Isn't it how nature works in cycles? We are just, tomorrow is the first day, or the day after tomorrow is the first day of fall. Once again, here we go again. It's year after year, it's the same thing. So why wouldn't it be the same with us? And that's how we need to learn from nature, that everything is cyclical, and then we go back and forth, and trying to decompress. How do we do that? Everyone needs to find out the best way. Some people like to go to the gym and then exercise. Some people like to read. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to run. We have to find a way. We need to find ways to cope, to deal with these problems with our adversaries. But I said, and as we approach the end, that I would say something that goes away, that moves a little bit away from what Kardec says here. And I'm just going to leave this for us to think when we read or when we think about reconciliation with our adversaries. Who is our worst adversary, in your views? So, who is then the judge? Who is the minister of justice? What is the prison? Now imagine that I died and I wake up on the other side and I have not reconciled with me. The judge will be tough, and I will have to pay every cent. To whom? What does it mean to reconcile with myself? These are just thoughts. I mean, this is not what the message is about necessarily, but it is as well. When I say that it is not what the message is what I'm saying, what I'm actually saying is that the message in the Gospel according to Spiritism doesn't talk about that part, doesn't go into that part of reconciling with me reconciling with the mirror. But I have to learn how to do that. And to remember that if I'm talking about two people, me and my adversary, although we are the same, we are also different. And then I have to do both parts. What does that mean? If I, let's say, have a problem, if I have a problem with Mariana, and she is my adversary in the example here, right? And I don't want to change, I don't want to do, but she wants to come and reconcile, and she does whatever she can to do it, but I don't want to, right? Her conscience will be better, maybe not completely fulfilled, because she still sees that I need to do something, but she cannot do more, for me. I will have to come and do something. She might still have like a problem here and there, but she is good with herself. I, on the other hand, would need to do something, and I don't know when it would be, but I will have to wake up at one moment and say, hey, I need to change. I need to do something. And it might take a life, might take a few days, might take a few years, whatever. Now I am in trouble with myself. I am my own adversary. I come to me and I say, oh, I want to fix this. But my other side, which is the one that I'm fighting over, says, I don't want to change right now. I'm still in anger. I still don't like that person. But then you're fighting against you. And if I don't do this, when parts of my conscience awaken, and I look at this part that, like Paul says, so why do I want to do the good so much and I can't do it? And at the same time, I know that I don't want to do the evil parts, but I still do it. Why? Yeah, and then that's why. I mean, I psychologically, not a psychologist, I don't know all the words, I don't know. I have this construct that I built over so many lives, that I have all these things in me that need to be changed, that I know that based on the new teachings that I'm getting, that I see that are wrong, but it's so hard for me because I built this for such a long time that it's hard to say, if I leave this behind, if I change it, will I still be me? And I have that fight against myself of saying, oh, I'm not going to be myself anymore. Then comes that question, who am I? So that fight of knowing who I am, accepting my problems, my difficulties, my issues, my problems, is the first step. It doesn't solve the problem. Doesn't solve the problem. It's only the first step. It's as if what Mariana did to me, she did the best that she could to solve the problem. But only one part did. Her. I didn't do. Same thing. I look at myself and I say, oh, I know that you need to change, so I accept that you need to change. But the problem is not solved yet. One part of me is in peace, but the other part is not in peace yet. So I have to keep working on it. I have to keep working on it because it's inside myself. If it's outside, I can talk, I can try to do something on the behind the scenes to try to help the person that doesn't want to do it. But in the end, it's the other person that needs to do something. I cannot do it. Me with myself, same idea. I have to accept who I am. Let's imagine a terrible thing. I'm a murderer. I killed someone. There's a lot of people like that in jail, right? And outside too. Can a person that once killed someone be in peace with himself and change? Of course. And they will change. Might take time. Yes, it might take time. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible. What is the first step? Accept that you did something wrong. Period. And accept is really accepting. It's saying, I did it. I know that I did it. It was wrong. And I'm going to change. Does it solve the problem? No. It's the first step. It's acceptance. So when I accept Mariana looking at me and she accepts that she did the best that she could, she's still trying, but I don't want to change, she has to accept that. Otherwise, she will not be good with herself because she cannot see that I have my own time to change. It's not her time, it's my time to change. But we want the other to change the same way that I want the other to change. Or if I changed now, you have to change too. Wait, how long did it take? Did it take you to change? So now you want the other to change the same time? Me with myself, the same idea. And I am my own worst adversary. So I have to reconcile. I have to accept it. And then keep working. Keep working to change. Which might take time, but keep working to change. And hopefully it will not be too late. Hopefully I don't owe a lot. Hopefully I owe only a few cents. Maybe I already paid 2 cents, so I still have a few, but I already paid a lot. So, but that's what I wanted to bring with this as well. I mean, while we are on our way on while it's a tongue twister. While we are on our way with our adversaries, let's do the best we can. Let's do our part while we are on our way with ourselves. Let's do the best. Let's accept ourselves, accept our mistakes, but don't use them as an excuse to keep making the same mistakes. Because when people actually say, "Oh, I accept who I am," I have to say, and maybe it's just me, but I have to say that when I hear people saying this, I hear what I hear most of the times is um, an excuse to keep doing the same things over and over, which it should not be. When I accept who I am and I know that I am that way, I can't use that as an excuse to keep making the same mistakes. I can understand if I make the same mistake and I say, "Oh my God, again?" But always bring that again and no more, because otherwise we will only keep repeating the same thing, right? So reconcile with one's adversaries, with me in the mirror, with the ones that are together, so that we can be freer, we can be lighter, we can be better, we can live a better, a lighter life with everyone around us. So that was chapter 10, items 5 and 6 on the Gospel according to Spiritism. And I thank you for your attention, for your contribution. It was awesome to have this, so we can talk and understand a little better the teachings, and remind everyone of, like Chris always say, gonna have passes or no? Or are we okay? So let's do our final prayer and then, or do our passes first, or how we? Okay, so we're gonna do the passes here for those who want, and we will be back to do the final prayer and leave. Say a few words, and we'll be back.